Hello history buffs and welcome back to the channel. As part of Women's History Month, I thought I would cover the 5 women who ruled England and Great Britain in their own right. The first 2 incredible women on this list were Queens of England, as we had not been united with Scotland. Our first Queen Regnant is Queen Mary I. Born in 1516, Mary was the only surviving child of King Henry VIII and his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Mary faced a tumultuous childhood, marked by her father's desire for a male heir, which led to her mother's annulment and Mary's subsequent declaration as illegitimate. Mary's ascension to the throne was a significant moment in history. She became the first Queen Regnant of England, ruling in her own right rather than as a consort. Mary had the difficulty of balancing her role as a queen and fulfilling her queenly duties, such as providing an heir, but also ruling as authoritatively as a king, and she would effectively lay the groundwork, or the template, for her predecessors, as it had never been done prior to Mary's rule.
From a certain point of view.
Her determination and courage were evident as she successfully challenged Lady Jane Grey, securing her position with popular support. Historian Linda Porter notes, her bravery put her on the throne and kept her there, highlighting Mary's ability to navigate the complexities of her time and establish herself as a legitimate ruler, despite societal norms that often marginalised women. A devout Catholic, Mary sought to reverse the Protestant Reformation initiated by her father and her half-brother, Edward VI. Her reign is infamous for the Marian persecutions, during which approximately 280 Protestants were executed for heresy. This brutal campaign earned her the moniker Bloody Mary. Historian Alexander Sampson remarks that while she's often depicted as a heartless zealot, behind the grisly caricature stands one of England's most accomplished monarchs, who worked tirelessly to restore Catholicism. Mary's marriage to Philip II of Spain in 1554 was politically motivated but deeply unpopular amongst her subjects. This alliance aimed to secure a Catholic heir, but instead led to military conflicts and the loss of Calais, England's last possession in France, in 1558, a blow that devastated Mary's reputation and legacy. As she faced increasing public discontent and health issues, including phantom pregnancies that exasperated her emotional turmoil, she reportedly said that Calais would be found engraved on her heart when she died. Despite her controversial methods and the harsh realities of her reign, Mary I's legacy is multifaceted. She laid foundational principles for female rule that would later benefit her half-sister, Elizabeth I. As historian David Lode states, without Mary's enlightened legislation and sound administration, Elizabeth would have had a much harder time. Mary I remains a polarising figure in history, viewed by some as a tyrant and by others a misunderstood monarch who fought fearlessly for her beliefs in an era fraught with religious conflict. Her story is one of resilience amid adversity, underscoring the complexities of leadership in a time when women were rarely seen as sovereigns. Mary may have been our first Queen Regnant, but her reign was short. After only 5 years on the throne, Mary died on the 17th of November 1558, at the age of 42. With no children to succeed her, the English throne passed yet to another woman, her sister, the Lady Elizabeth. As such, Elizabeth is not only second on this list, but also the second Queen Regnant in England's history. It's like a bus, you wait 1,000 years and 2 come along at once. Queen Elizabeth I was born in September 1533 and was the only child of King Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. After her mother was executed when Elizabeth was just 2 years old, she navigated the complexities of royal life, ultimately emerging as one of England's most formidable rulers. Ascending to the throne after the death of her half-sister Mary I, Elizabeth inherited a nation divided by religious strife and economic instability. Her reign is often referred to as the Elizabethan era, a time characterised by cultural flourishing and national pride. Historian David Loades emphasised her remarkable ability to govern during such a turbulent time. Elizabeth was not merely a queen, she was a masterful politician who understood the art of compromise. Elizabeth's commitment to restoring Protestantism in England was evident, as she re-established the Church of England and implemented a moderate religious policy that sought to unify her subjects. Her intelligence and education were notable. She was fluent in 5 languages and well-versed in history and literature. One of the defining moments of her reign came in 1588, when she successfully defended England against the Spanish Armada, a monumental victory that solidified her status as a powerful leader. Elizabeth's rallying speech at Tilbury, where she declared, "I have a heart and stomach of a king," showcased her determination and courage in the face of adversity. This victory not only bolstered national pride, but also established England as a formidable naval power. Despite being known as the Virgin Queen, Elizabeth used her unmarried status as an asset in diplomacy, skillfully navigating potential suitors to strengthen alliances without compromising her authority. Her refusal to marry allowed her to maintain control over her kingdom, making her one of history's most iconic female monarchs.
For life.
Under Elizabeth's rule, England experienced significant cultural growth, with the arts flourishing as playwrights like William Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe emerged. The era is often celebrated for its contributions to literature, music, and exploration, as figures like Sir Francis Drake expanded England's influence overseas. Elizabeth's legacy is one of resilience, intelligence, and cultural achievement. She ruled for 44 years. Her ability to unite a divided nation and foster an environment where arts and exploration thrived makes her one of history's most revered monarchs. So, in 50 years, England has had 2 Queen Regnants back to back. They were both daughters of King Henry VIII, and they both did a remarkable job. I know a lot of my friends are awful when it comes to history and our country's monarchy, and yet I know for a fact that they would know these 2 women. I think it just goes to show how well Henry provided for his daughters, by which I mean Henry's wives, as they would have supervised his daughter's education, but still his daughters were 2 very well educated and competent women. Anyway, moving on, as this isn't supposed to be me fangirling over the Tudor princesses. It would be 99 years until Britain would see another Queen Regnant. I'm English, so we don't really count the Scottish royal family. Sorry! Although if you'd like me to do a video on the Scottish Queen Regnants, then please let me know. At this halfway point, I would like to voice some honourable mentions. First, we have Empress Matilda. Empress Matilda was born in 1102 and was the daughter of King Henry I of England and his wife Matilda of Scotland. Her life took a dramatic turn when she was named heir to the English throne by her father in 1127, following the tragic death of her brother William in the White Ship disaster. This unprecedented decision set the stage for one of the most tumultuous periods in English history. Despite being named heir, Matilda's claim to the throne was challenged by her cousin, Stephen of Blois, upon Henry I's death in 1135. This led to a prolonged civil war known as the Anarchy. Historian Jim Bradbury notes, the conflict between Stephen and Matilda was not just a dynastic dispute, but a struggle that engulfed the whole of England and Normandy. Matilda's brief rule as Lady of the English came in 1141 after her forces captured King Stephen at the Battle of Lincoln. This moment marked a significant, albeit short-lived, triumph for Matilda. As historian Marjorie Chibnall explains, for a few months in 1141, Matilda was effectively ruling England, even if she was never crowned. However, Matilda's reign was fraught with challenges. Her demeanour and the fact that she was a woman in a male-dominated society worked against her. Historian Helen Castor argues, Matilda's biggest problem was not that she was a woman, but that she was a woman who did not conform to contemporary expectations of female behaviour. Matilda's rule reached its climax when she entered London to prepare for her coronation. However, her reception was far from warm. The citizens of London, traditionally supporters of Stephen, rose against her. This rebellion, coupled with the approach of Stephen's wife's army, forced Matilda to flee the city without being crowned. Despite this setback, Matilda's influence on English history remained significant. As historian Catherine Hanley points out, although Matilda never wore the crown, she laid the groundwork for the Plantagenet dynasty through her son, Henry II. Matilda's brief rule as Lady of the English, while unsuccessful in securing her long-term reign, demonstrated her determination and political acumen. It also set a precedent for female rule in England, paving the way for future Queen Regnants. Charles Beam, a scholar of queenship, asserts, Matilda's claim to rule in her own right was a radical concept in 12th century England, one that would not be fully realised until the 16th century. So technically, although never crowned and her reign was unstable, Matilda was the first Queen and Empress of England, despite what Queen Victoria would have thought.
I heard that, you nasty.
Next on our Honourable Mentions is Lady Jane Grey, the younger cousin of the first two Queen Regnants on this list, Mary and Elizabeth I. Lady Jane Grey, born in October 1537, became an unwitting pawn in a high-stakes political game that would lead to her brief reign as Queen of England and ultimately her tragic demise. Her 9-day rule, 13-day rule, in July 1553 stands as one of the most dramatic episodes in Tudor history. Jane's ascension to the throne was orchestrated by her father-in-law, John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland, who sought to maintain Protestant rule after the death of the young King Edward VI. As historian Eric Ives notes, Jane was not an adventuress seeking a crown, but a dutiful child obeying her parents. This obedience led her to reluctantly accept the crown on the 10th of July, 1553, at the tender age of 15. Jane's brief reign was marked by confusion and rapid political manoeuvring. She was proclaimed Queen in London, but support for her claim was tepid at best. As Leander Delisle points out, Jane's proclamation as Queen was met with stony silence by the people of London. This lack of popular support would prove crucial in the days to come. During her short time as Queen, Jane showed remarkable composure and adherence to her Protestant faith. She refused to name her husband, Guildford Dudley, as king, insisting that he would be made Duke of Clarence instead. This decision, according to historian Alison Weir, showed Jane's strength of character and her unwillingness to be manipulated. However, Jane's reign was doomed from the start. Mary Tudor, Henry VIII's eldest daughter, quickly rallied support and marched on London. As support for Jane crumbled, even her own father-in-law, the Duke of Northumberland, who put her in that position, abandoned Jane and switched allegiance to Mary.
The cheek, the nerve, the gall, the audacity, and the gumption.
On the 19th of July, just 9 days after her proclamation, Jane was deposed. The aftermath of Jane's brief reign was initially not as dire as what we might have expected. Mary I initially spared Jane's life, imprisoning her in the Tower of London. However, as Helen Castor explains, Jane's fate was sealed not by her actions as queen, but by her father's involvement in Wyatt's rebellion in 1554. Jane's execution on the 12th of February 1554 at the age of 16 cemented her place in history as a tragic figure and Protestant martyr. Her courage in the face of death was widely noted. According to contemporary accounts, she faced her execution with remarkable bravery, declaring on the scaffold, "Lord, into thy hands I commend my spirit." So despite Queen Mary I being our first Queen Regnant, we actually had 2 women reign before her, even if they were brief. Hashtag justice for Jane. Please let me know in the comment section if you've been a subscriber long enough to know that reference. And that last person on our Honourable Mentions before we return to our official Queen Regnant is Queen Mary II. So technically Queen Mary II would have been and could have been qualified as the next Queen Regnant on our list. Her younger sister Anne certainly did. Mary, as the eldest daughter of King James II, had the claim to the throne. Unfortunately, what ruined it for her is that she decided to be a co-monarch with her husband, William of Orange, who became King William III. But you will have to wait until next week to hear my coverage on Queen Mary II and then finish off our list with the final 3 Queen Regnants. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, have a wonderful day.